all of you. I'm Vinod Malviya and I'm part of Executive Committee Ahmedabad Indian Plumbing Chapter Association Ahmedabad Chapter. I welcome you all on behalf of one of the most knowledgeable, informative, and effective association of India. And Ahmedabad Chapter is one of the most active, and we always share a great knowledge with our chapter members. So, like a good host and executive committee member, we welcome all the members and non-members to this knowledgeable and technical session of which we have decided on a plumbing coordination by architect. So let's start with this session, and I would request Mr. Minesh Shah. He's the chairman, Indian Plumbing Association, Ahmedabad chapter, and MEP consultant of Aqua Design and Utility for a welcome note. Over to you, Mr. Minesh, please.
A warm welcome to everyone. Good afternoon. IPA Ahmedabad chapter have decided to organize a series of technical webinars. In fact, 4 webinars will be organized, and this is the first one of that series. The other three webinars would be one on the plumbing fixtures and fittings and do's and don'ts of plumbing. We'll be having 2 sessions. We'll be having one technical webinar every 2 days, every 2 weeks. So this is today is 6th. So next webinar will be on 20th. Before we start, I'll just have a brief on the major activities of IPA. You all might be aware of IPPL, the Indian Plumbing Professionals League. IPA, due to this corona pandemic and the social distancing to be followed, IPA headquarters is right now discussing on and deliberating on the chances of organizing IPPL in a soft format, that is on a digital platform. More details will be coming in some time, but the format would be like any person from the country can participate in IPPL irrespective of a team. So any individual can participate. Now that is a big change we are looking at. So far as I Save Water is concerned, IPA did a wonderful thing with the I Save Water campaign, and we achieved around 80% of the target last year for saving of water. This year, the target was 500 crore liters of water. And because of the corona pandemic, COVID, we were not able to launch our campaign very effectively. But now as the things go on, the I Save Water campaign will be started. As usual, Indian Plumbing Conference is next. Indian Plumbing Conference is to be held in Pune in the month of December. The details will come in. I'll make an important announcement. Yesterday we all celebrated World Environmental Day, and IPA, in collaboration with 5 other associations, Triple ID, IGBC, FSAI, ISRE, and CREDAI. These 6 big associations have collaborated for a better tomorrow, and they have signed a MOU yesterday. So that's a big development for the days to come, wherein we are looking at the design sector as well as the build sector coming together, joining their hands. We'll not have more of a discussion on this, and we'll like to have more technical discussion because we are all aware of a lot of IPA activities. I'll like to thank Huliot for sponsoring this webinar. I'll ask Mr. Shailesh to start the presentation, sponsor the presentation. Before that, I'll just give you a brief on one thing. IPA has had formed the guidelines, remedial measures for plumbing systems for COVID-19 and other infections, and this has been uploaded on the IPA website www.indianplumbing.org, which can be downloaded by any one of you. Now over to Mr. Shailesh Bhai. Shailesh Bhai, you can start your screen sharing.
Thank you, Minesh Bhai. Good afternoon to all the participants and the IPA members, and namaste from Huliat side. I would like to thank the IPA Gujarat chapter for giving us an opportunity to sponsor this webinar. I'll take you brief about what Huliot is and what we do. So Huliot is the first certified green product company, and we are into the advanced flow system. What is Huliot? What does Huliot mean? Huliot means a link. This link we are talking about, the link between all the influencers which are in our system. Influencer includes architect, consultants, contractors, everybody, and then we form a chain. So this chain obviously is for the well-being of the entire society. Well, what we do in Huliot, who we are, what we offer, and what we do. I mean, these are the three questions which I'll answer in my presentation. Let us start who the Huliot is. Huliot has started his establishment in 1947, and we have grown over the years and in leaps and bounds. We have spread our wings in Europe and also in India. We have a manufacturing base in Baroda, where we started manufacturing our polypropylene pipes and fittings. We continue to lead the flow product market in the water supply, drainage, wastewater, and sewage products, which is more for the construction industry. We excel in the development and production of innovative solutions. We are creating added values for its customers, develop long-term relationship with customers through reliability, trust, highest quality services, create a reliable, stable, and family-like framework for the employees, involved in communities where we operate and contribute to where awareness. Sorry, I think so there was some issues. We create the reliability, stable, and family-like framework for the employees. We are involved in communities where we operate and contribute to the well-being. We act to protect the physical environment and raise awareness about the environmental protection. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. What we offer a drinking water solution. In drinking water solution, we offer PIX piping systems. The PIX piping is basically PERT, aluminum PERT, which is a multi-layer composite pipe. Also, we offer the monolayer pipes and fittings. In the drinking water, when we continue further, we have the PPR piping system, which is made of polypropylene random pipes and fittings, and polypropylene random with fiber reinforcement pipes and fittings. Also, we are in the firefighting system with the polypropylene systems made of the same material, that is PPR and PPRCP. We talk about the drainage systems. In drainage systems, we have two systems. The first system is ultra silent, which is soundproof pipe and fittings which is available. We have the other system, which is called as the ST Pro push fit polypropylene system. Both the systems are made of polypropylene material, which is a virgin material, which is recyclable, which is green certified products. If you talk about the next product which we offer, which is basically for the sewage treatment plant, where we treat the water and recycle this particular water. And the terminology which we use is clear black, which is our trademark. And this is on the technology of MBR. What we do in the entire Huliot, we provide complete basket of innovative solutions. We provide technical support for designs and value engineering. We do system guarantees for the entire system which we install. We give after sales service for the products and the service part of it. And we give on-time delivery for the material which has been ordered by the customer. Now, to sum up all this, what we say, Huliot is water and water is life. And this, when we join this both together, we say Huliot is life. And when we say Huliot is life, we always say what we do, what we offer, and what we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shailesh. It was useful, interesting, and very informative. And you're always with us, and you keep supporting our different session, and we look forward for more support from your side. So, guys, friends, any process require coordination of different disciplines, including art, science, engineering, and fun. And in continuation with this thought, we IPA Ahmedabad chapter decided to have 4 different webinars on a specific topic. And today, in our first webinar of this series, we will talk on plumbing coordination by architect. And today, we have a very interesting and knowledgeable personality with us who is going to talk and share his knowledge with us on plumbing coordination by architect. Let's welcome Mr. Subhash Deshpande. Mr. Subhash Deshpande is a chartered civil engineer with postgraduate degree from Canada. Mr. Deshpande has more than 38 years of experience in building and plumbing industry. He is a member of Indian Plumbing Association Technical Committee. He is part of and he's a chairman, past chairman of Pune chapter of IPA and past chairman of Pune Center of Builder Association of India. His lifetime contribution to the Indian plumbing industry is the first of its kind of plumbing lab of IPA and College of Engineering Pune, which is known as a COEP. Mr. Deshpande is a recipient of World Plumbing Council Trainers Scholarship in 2007. Under the program, he visited Austria for about a month to study the plumbers training facilitation there. Mr. Subhash Deshpande retired as the Director of Plumbing International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials India, which is known as the IAPMO India. And Mr. Deshpande is popularly known, you will be great to know that, is known as a plumber acharya, like he's the acharya of the plumbing. So it's a great degree to you. And Mr. Deshpande continues his contribution in upgrading the knowledge of plumbing professional based on the latest plumbing code. Over to you, Mr. Subhash Deshpande. We look forward for a great and knowledgeable session. Thank you for joining. Please go on.
Thanks, Vinod. Thank you very much. Friends, namaste and good evening to all of you. We are going to talk about plumbing coordination by architects. However, even if the topic says plumbing coordination by architects, this topic will be of interest of everybody who is related to plumbing, not only architects. But of course, architects have the main role to play. I'll share my screen so that okay, so here we start. This was plumbing yesterday. Until recently or even today in some places in India, we have plumbing which is away from the building, which is at the back of the building, which is considered dirty, unhealthy, stinking subject, and that's why it is kept away from the house. And today, plumbing has come inside. It is not only come inside, but it is next to your bedroom. It is as good, as clean, and as big as your bedroom. And that is today's plumbing. And to have that kind of plumbing, which looks good, which works good, which keeps you healthy, you have to have proper coordination between owners, architects, interior designers, plumbing consultants, and of course the contractors who will ultimately install the plumbing as per the design of plumbing consultant and the architect. So architect has a very major role, because many times when I ask plumbing consultants or plumbing contractors, why you are not doing so and so thing, they say architect ने मना किया, क्योंकि architect मना करता है, architect बोलता है ये नहीं चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं चाहिए, and that's why many times we don't get good plumbing at site. However, today's architects are very cooperative and they are open to the latest technologies and new materials in plumbing. So architects need to understand plumbing services, and at the same time, plumbing consultants need to understand architecture. Unless both work together hand in hand, you cannot have good plumbing, which is taking care of health and safety of people. So they are both two sides of the same coin. So when we start talking about planning, planning has to start much before the construction starts. One of the very important topic is, what is the construction method? Is it prefab construction? Is it shuttering, like my one type of shuttering with concrete walls? Is it post-tension slab or column with drop panels? It may be flat slab or it may have dry walls. Depending on the type of construction method, the plumbing will also change, the plumbing materials will change, and the systems will change. And so the planning has to start much before construction. But you might ask, what is plumbing? Very simply put, it is water in and water out. So you have to have fresh, clean, potable water coming in at adequate pressure. Then you use it. We consume some of the water for cooking and drinking. So we say daily water consumption. That is a wrong term because we don't actually consume water. We just use it and convert that into a water waste. And then the water has to go out. So water comes in a very nice clean form and distributed with adequate pressure. And water comes out, which is to be disposed of as quickly as possible. So plumbing, as I said, is directly related to health and safety of people. Health, most of the diseases are waterborne diseases. 80% of them are waterborne diseases. And so the water has to be of good quality, potable water. And safety, of course, there are safety factors, there are cross connections, pollutions, contaminations, very hot water which can burn you or scalding may happen. So there are many aspects which are directly affecting health and safety of people. Talking about planning and coordination, what is toilet planning? Firstly, we talk about plumbing requirements. That is depending on the type of the building. What type of the building? Is it IT park? Is it residential building? It is commercial building? What is the type of toilet? Is it public toilet or private toilet? Is it for children? Is it for disabled people? How many people are going to use that toilet? How many WCs you need? How many urinals you need? All this plumbing requirement has to be chalked out before the work starts. Then the plumbing codes. We have, of course, National Building Code, which tells you the plumbing requirements. However, we also have additional codes developed by IAPMO and Indian Plumbing Association, IPA, together, and they are called as Uniform Plumbing Code of India, Uniform Illustrated Plumbing Code of India. There are other codes. For example, we have Water Efficient Products Code, we have Solar Energy Code, and so on and so forth. So plumbing requirement and plumbing code, and then comes the architecture. The architecture must be suitable for incorporating all the requirements of plumbing. So it should be not only taking plumbing into account, but it also has to take the beauty, aesthetics, ambience, lighting, everything in consideration. So both architect and the plumbing consultant has to work together. At the same time, we have to consider structural requirements. As I said, it can be PT slab where you cannot puncture the slab at the red band that you see at the bottom. Or you may have my one type of shuttering where you have to install plumbing before the concreting is done. So while talking about toilet planning, we talk about sunken floors, we talk about wet areas in the toilet, slopes in the toilet, ledge walls, sanitary ware, pipe material, and tile selection. All these things are important while planning a toilet. The last one, tile selection. The tiling layout is generally not given till end of the project. The tiles are not selected in time. The tile sizes change, the tile jointing changes, the tile layout changes. Some architects want the plumbing fitting to be at the joint of the tile. Some want plumbing fitting at the center of the tile. And that changes the entire plumbing layout. We have to reopen, redo, and it takes a lot of time. And of course, redone work is never as good as the original work. So the tiling layout should also be done right at the beginning of the project. Okay, this is a $1 million question. Do you have a sunken toilet floor? And if you have a sunken toilet floor, what is the sunken portion? Is it 100 mm, 200 mm, 300 mm, 400 mm, 600 mm, what? Most of the architects I know will say it should be 200 mm. And that is because that is what is taught in the colleges. In the college, even in civil engineering, I was taught that the toilet sunk should be 200 mm. Now, why that is not correct? Let us see. Basically, we have sunken toilet floors for accommodating the waste connection from wash basins, sinks, washing machines, and dishwashers. So we connect the wash basin or sink or dishwasher, etc., to a floor trap. So we have one bottle trap at the wash basin, and then we have another floor trap in the floor. That is called as double trapping, which is actually not required if the trap is rightly designed. But then we have a nani trap, which is very popular in India. I don't know why. If you see the picture, the first one on the left is called a nani trap, which has got, can you see those yellow lines? Liquid seal in the trap, which prohibits the foul gases to come inside your premises. The second one on the right is so-called deep seal trap or deep trap. Actually, the water seal is same, 6 millimeters. And that 6 millimeter goes away when we have a slope provided to the pipe, and along with the slope to the pipe, the nani trap is also in the slope, and that water seal is lost. The plumbing code says that the water seal should be 50 millimeters, which you see in the bottom P trap, which has got 50 millimeter water seal, and that is the only approved trap. All other traps are not approved, they are prohibited traps. And so if you want to accommodate that kind of trap, a P trap in the floor, you must have not 200 mm, but 400 to 450 millimeters of sunken toilet floor. If you have a cement type of waterproofing, you also need that sunken portion to accommodate thickness of the cement plaster. So what is the solution? The solution is that you either have 450 millimeters sunken floor, as you see in the picture on the left, or you have non-sunken floor. Sorry. You have the non-sunken floor with waste pipe coming through the core cut and the floor trap also connected through the core cut. And both the systems are now accommodating a proper P trap. You will also note that the partition wall, which is orange in color, is at the edge of the beam, and to avoid any core cutting of the beam, there is another ledge wall which is blue in color. That is how we have to protect the structure from core cutting or damaging. This is the section through a sunken toilet floor as well as non-sunken toilet floor. And you will see that in both cases, if the slab is 3000 millimeters apart, you get 2400 as the headroom or 8 feet clear headroom in the toilet in both cases. So basically it reduces the dead weight, which is a backfill in the 450 millimeter sunken toilet floor. The waterproofing type can be cementitious in the sunken toilet floor. In non-sunken floor, you can have chemical waterproofing. But the last point, I think, is most important. And that point is ease of maintenance. If, for example, there is leakage in your toilet, sunken toilet floor, that leakage will be noticed by a person staying below after maybe 3 months when there is saturation and the water starts leaking through the slab. Then what you do? You break the flooring, you break the sanitary ware, you break the tiles, You excavate everything, take out the leaking pipe and replace it with new pipe and redo the whole thing. It might take maybe a month to get the toilet working again. That's a great inconvenience plus great cost. Whereas if there is a leakage in the non-sunken toilet floor, the leakage is noticed immediately through the false ceiling. You just remove that one tile 2 feet by 2 feet, T-pin, एक MCL का छोटा गोला लेके दबा दिया, your leakage stops. That is how it is. And particularly consider that you have a hotel or a hospital where the room is not rented out because of the non-functional toilet. What is the loss? Maybe 10,000 rupees per day. So this certainly is a very efficient system to install. The picture on the left is you're seeing a post-tension slab, PT slab, where we have done the core cutting and now the pipes are being attached to it. We have avoided core cutting on the red bands. Or you may have sleeves, as you see in the picture on the right. You may have sleeves left in the slab, or you may have cutouts. That rectangular thing is a cutout left in the slab. However, leaving sleeves or cutouts is not a very good thing, because with small change in fixing the tiles, a small change in selecting a WC, your sleeve may go west and you have to do the core cutting anyway. Here is another picture which shows HDP pipes for drainage. So basically, I was saying that ceiling hung plumbing saves time in construction because it is quick, fast. There is no first coat of waterproofing, drainage lines, backfilling, second coat of waterproofing, that is not there. It also saves initial cost. It saves maintenance cost, as I explained. Inconvenience you can avoid. The only thing is noise control. That is important because depending on the type of the material of the drainage lines, there will be less or more noise. But as we saw with the Shailesh's presentation, they have silent pipes which reduce the noise, and that really helps in having ceiling hung plumbing. This is another example of ceiling hung plumbing. Here we have hubless cast iron pipes. So basically any type of piping material can be used for ceiling hung plumbing. There are different types of hangers for each type of material. For example, in hubless fittings, you have to have a hanger on both sides of the fitting. Otherwise, in other polymer pipes, you can have less number of hangers. This is polypropylene pipe and fitting, again used for ceiling hung plumbing. And this is normal PVC pipes and fittings, but they will make little more noise than other pipes. Okay, in case of high-rise buildings, there are some steps to reduce the dead weight and the time of construction. For example, in high-rise buildings particularly, there is no more masonry. Nowadays we are having modern construction methods and materials. So we use gypsum partitions instead of masonry walls. Or we may have drywall toilets, as you see in the photo on the right, drywall toilets, or it's also called as pre-plumb system. So there is no sunken toilet floor. All the plumbing is within the toilet. Even the downtake pipes or the water supply pipes are also within the dry wall toilet. And of course, in high-rise building, you try to avoid the overhead tank so that your center of gravity remains low. and you can have hydropneumatic system for avoiding the overhead tank. So this is one example of drywall work going on. You can have metal or wooden studs, and then you have gypsum partitions on both sides of the stud. If you don't want people to hear what you're talking with your wife in the bedroom, you have to have glass wool in between so that the noise is also, it becomes soundproof. Yeah, just forgive me for a minute. So when you want to have a drywall toilet, you can have a pre-plumb system with this kind of carrier that you see on the right. This is a carrier for WC. You can see a concealed flush tank and a waste pipe for the WC. These carriers are used for mounting the plumbing fixtures such as water closet, urinals, wash basins, and sinks. The carrier can be adjusted in height depending on the type of toilet that you are constructing. The height can be adjusted. And a drywall looks like this. You can see the downtake pipe on the right, and also the water supply pipes, hot and cold, coming into the toilet. And the entire thing can be concealed into the small core of about 200 mm wide, in which everything is accommodated. The blue lines that you see, that is the carrier fitting. This is the picture taken in Australia. Australia uses a lot of wooden studs. They don't use steel, but they use wood. So you are seeing water supply pipes and drainage pipes also. The white color is drainage pipe. The one on the top is a vent pipe that is going to the roof. Okay, talking about dry and wet areas. This, I think, is a simple common sense, but that common sense is not very common. I have seen a lot of toilets where the wet area is right at the center, and you have to cross that every time you want to use a WC. And there are chances of slip and have fractures. So wet area should be at the extreme end of the toilet. Plumbing shafts. This is a very dicey subject because there are a lot of discussions on this, and architects don't like to have a large plumbing shaft for whatever reason. This is a typical plan of a hotel toilet. So there are rooms next to each other, and the plumbing shaft is opening into the service corridor or the passage, and the toilets are installed back to back. How to size a plumbing shaft? It's very important. So for example, if you have a 6-inch pipe, which is fixed away from the wall, so there is a gap of about 50 millimeters from the wall, and you have 6-inch pipe fixed. So that means it is accommodating about 200 millimeters for each pipe. And on both sides, that means it takes about 400 millimeters. And then a working platform about 2 feet wide, that is 600 millimeters. So the minimum size of a plumbing shaft is 1000 millimeters or 1 meter. That is the way to work out the shaft size. Of course, it depends on how many number of pipes you have, depending on the type of system. And we're going to talk about the drainage systems in a short while. Another important thing is that it should be accessible. The plumbing shaft must be accessible. So you can see that here we have a trap door from the toilet on the left. We have a trap door, and from the trap door you can go into the plumbing shaft. There is a working platform and the pipes are fixed on both sides of the trapdoor. Or in another case, you are seeing a plumbing shaft on the exterior face of the building and it can be accessed through the balcony of bedroom. It is very important that we have access to the plumbing shaft. You cannot expect plumbers to climb up or climb down from the terrace like monkeys and attend to the maintenance problem. So here is an actual example of how the plumbing shaft can be designed with cutouts on both sides, and we have a concrete slab as working platform. The other picture is showing there is no working platform, and it's really a miracle to go there and attend to the problem. Because there is no access from the toilet, there is no working platform, and maintenance will be a huge problem. And that is why I say that we need cooperation from the architects to design plumbing systems. This is a properly planned shaft with cutouts for the pipes and a working platform with proper access, natural light and natural ventilation to the plumbing shaft. The other one on the right you are seeing is having a louvered door. So there is a, it is concealed, the plumbing is concealed, but at the same time, fresh air is circulated. And here is the example of no planning. And you can see the big mess, the chaos, confusion in the plumbing shaft. And there are examples of buildings having no shafts at all. There are many buildings where the plumbing is directly put on the external face of the building without a shaft, but that is not called good architecture. These are some of the abuses of the shaft. The one on the left you are seeing is hardly 600 mm plumbing shaft, very difficult to accommodate pipes and fittings. You have to have T joint, no Ys or no 45-degree, and that is not good plumbing. Or the other one you are seeing, the soil and waste pipes are crossing each other. Or the one on the bottom is the hot water boilers are also accommodated in the shaft. There are too many things in the shaft. Okay, so let's go to another topic, that is toilet slopes. I have seen thousands of drawings coming to my office from the architects, which shows a slope like this, a diagonal slope. And it is actually impossible to have diagonal slope unless you have a cut in the tile, which can be dangerous to your naked feet. I would please request all architects to please avoid this kind of corner inlet, floor inlet. You should have a floor channel or a shower channel so that you can have unilateral slope in the toilet, which is very effective and disposes of all water completely. In this kind of diagonal slope, there will be some water, stagnant water there, which leads to leakages ultimately, and also causes fungal growth, etc., causing health problems. These are the typical dimensions for each plumbing fitting. You have to have minimum 600 mm for a wash basin, 850 for the water closet, and 800 for shower. So that was something about architecture, but now we'll also talk about structural safety. We have to protect the structure. And as I said, we have seen one example that with the help of ledge walls, we were able to avoid any chasing or drilling or core cutting the structural members. We also have to use the right tools. No manual chasing is allowed. No manual hole making is allowed. You have to use proper tools so that you protect the structure from cracks and other problems. Then there are possible vibrations coming from pumps particularly fire pumps, etc. You have to have vibration eliminators. You have to avoid water hammer by providing proper water hammer arresters, and because that water hammer can also create some cracks in the structure. So noise, impacts, waterproofing, all these are affecting the life of the structure, and we have to give due respect to these things. Here is one example of water pipe, water supply pipe coming in the toilet from the plumbing shaft. Otherwise, somebody would have chased the column to take the pipe into the toilet. However, with the help of ledge wall, we were able to avoid chasing of the column. Similarly, a ledge wall on the right with a section in the section, you can see that the beam is protected by constructing a ledge wall in the sunken toilet floor. So toilet planning, you have to decide in advance what is the type of water closet. Is it Indian or Anglo-Indian or European? If it is Indian, you have to have proper trap, P-trap to the Indian WC, not the one that you get in the market, which is not having proper water seal. Then there are issues about whether you want to use flush tank or flush valve. You want to have concealed flush tank or exposed flush tank. You want to have toilet paper or ablution faucet. Ablution faucet, that is the right word. It is not health faucet, it is ablution faucet. It has nothing to do with health. Or whether you are going to have a 9 trap, which is actually prohibited, but people are still using it, or you are going to have floor trap, and the tiles layout as we discussed earlier. So all these aspects are important, and that will be covered in our next webinar and doing the advertisement. Do you select plumbing fixtures based on color, shape, brand, or cost? Actually, that should not be the case. Selecting plumbing fixture has other technical aspects, which we'll cover in the next webinar. To learn more about how to select plumbing fixtures, attend our next webinar on fixtures, fittings, and appliances. Okay, now space planning. In the space planning, we cover water tanks, sumps, pump rooms, water treatment plant, sewage treatment plant, inlets at the terrace, inlets at the balconies, all wet areas, whether you want to have driver's toilet in the basement and things like that. So all that has to be done right at the beginning of the project. Here you are seeing that this is the section of through the water tank and the pump room. And I want to highlight here that this is the sump in the water tank, so that your suction will be from the sump, and the flooring of the pump room is below the tank bottom, so that you have positive suction in your pumps. This is very important for proper running of the pumps, and you must have positive suction, particularly for fire pumps. Okay, then at the beginning of the project, we must have details. For example, structural details such as the drop panels on the column. What is the size? How much is the drop? And what is the shape? Accordingly, we have to run our plumbing at the ceiling of the basement. We also have to have proper parking plan, because without a parking plan, we cannot design our sprinkler system. We also have to have terrace details. For example, here you are seeing a terrace in the mess on the left with cooling towers and overhead tanks which are not properly installed. And there are cables and other things lying here and there. Whereas the other photo shows a nicely planned terrace with the ring main pipes which are running along the parapet of the terrace with proper benching. No pipe is laid on the floor. And this can be done only with proper coordination between plumbing consultant and architect. These are the unplanned pipe crossings at the terrace. Here you can see on the left, there is water supply, different types of water, domestic and other types. And then there is a fire pump lying there unprotected. Or here on the right, you are seeing hot water and cold water pipes running parallelly, exposed and not properly supported. Coming to drainage, the systems approved are one pipe fully vented system or two pipe fully vented system. There are other systems which are available. They are single stack system and solvent system. But you need to have proper designs done and get it approved from the people. What we actually do at site is one or two pipe partially vented system. In India, two pipe system is more commonly used. That is because we don't have confidence in designing our systems. Actually, one pipe system can be very effectively designed, and we should promote one pipe system. One pipe and single stack, they sound similar, but they are not. They are different, and we'll have a look at the figures. So this is a one pipe system where everything is connected to only one pipe, which is on the right, and the blue pipe is vent pipe. This is a one pipe fully vented system. The other is two pipe system where the soil and waste are connected separately. Again, there is a dispute or difference between soil and waste. Soil and waste is not equivalent to black and gray. By definition, the kitchen sink, dishwashers are part of the black water. They are not gray water, they are soil water. So this is one pipe partially vented system where only the soil fittings are vented. The waste fitting such as wash basin, shower or sink, they are not vented. But urinals and WCs are vented. This is a solvent system. You can see the solvent is installed on every floor. The one here that you see here is the solvent at every floor. Very efficient system. It can reduce the length of pipe and the diameter of pipe because of the solvent fitting, and the velocity breaker. The solvent acts like a velocity breaker. Storm drains or rainwater downtakes. This is the latest kind of fitting where the rainwater is collected from the terrace with flat grating, or it is connected. It is collected at every balcony where the vertical downtake is connected to the same fitting, and also the rainwater from the balcony at each floor is also collected in the same pipe. Very nice fitting, and this can be considered for installing in your project. If you want to reduce the number of downtakes of rainwater pipe, you can go for siphonic roof drainage system. With the higher flow capacity, siphonic drainage has advantages over conventional system. So here you are seeing that there is only one downtake coming down, that too of lesser diameter of the pipe. And this can be achieved only because of the proper design. It is a engineered design by the manufacturers, and the velocity of the pipe is much more than the gravity flow. And that's why you should have a pressure pipe for this, not the conventional SWR pipe. These are the details of siphonic roof drainage. The inlet is specially designed to develop the full flow of the water without air. Okay, water supply. You will see that people talk about drinking water, domestic water, flushing water, landscaping, firefighting, whatever. But as an architect, as a developer, as an owner, and as a plumbing consultant, you must know that drinking and domestic are one and the same. The source has to be same. All domestic water which is in your house, whether it is for floor mopping or shower or wash basin, must be of drinking quality. You cannot have two different types of water. One is drinking and one is domestic. It is one and the same. There may be different sources. So you may have municipal water, tanker water, borewell water, which you have to bring in and treat to make it potable. You may use rainwater for landscaping or flushing. You may use grey water for landscaping and reclaimed water for flushing. So there are various types of sources of water and they have different qualities of water, but you have to treat them properly for the considered use. Water tanks. When we are planning for the water tanks, it depends on the quality of the water, it depends on the quantity of the water, and it depends on the location of the water. If you go to Vastu Shastri, he will say your water tank should be at the north of the plot. However, that may not be suitable, that may not be convenient at all plots. So you have to be very careful while listening to the Vastu Shastri. When you have two types of qualities of water coming in, non-potable and potable, it has to have a sanitary separation in the tank so that the leakage from non-potable water does not contaminate potable water. Whatever the quality or the type of material, whatever the quality of waterproofing, please remember, no concrete in the world is watertight. And so there will be leakages, and that leakage will cause contamination of your potable water. So we must have sanitary separation between non-potable and potable water storage tanks. Water supply. You may have multiple tanks or you may have one overhead tank. You may have multi-stage pumping or single pumping. There are various ways of doing it. For example, here, you can do the zoning in high-rise buildings. So you have a number of overhead water tanks, and there are many ways of pumping the water directly from groundwater tank to each overhead tank or from one overhead tank to another overhead tank. There are advantages, disadvantages, energy consumption, water quality, all these things are affected with each type. So you must consider all aspects while designing water supply system. However, this design has to be done initially so that the structural engineer can design the building accordingly. The water supply can be by gravity from the overhead tank or through the hydropneumatic system, that is water pumps, that is hydro, equipped with air vessel, that is pneumatic, for supplying water. Hot water, there are many ways of providing hot water to your toilet, and you have to do the planning accordingly. You may have central hot water system, such as a boiler or a solar hot water system, or you may have local hot water systems such as storage type of hot water heaters, either electrical or gas. If it is a boiler, you may have engine oil or other fuel type, or you may have solar hot water system. All your hot water pipes must have proper insulation, and while designing the spaces required for installing the pipe, you have to add the diameter of the insulation also. Also, you have to take care whether you are going to have return piping in your hot water system. Accordingly, the space for the return pipe has to be provided in your plumbing shaft. Metering. In India, people like to have everything free. People like to have free water. People like to have free roads, free sewage treatment, etc. But we must remember that water is precious, and we must provide metering for each flat in the apartment building. This can be done by providing only one downtake on which the meter can be placed, and from that downtake, we can take the water to each toilet through ceiling of each room. Also, to monitor how much water we are treating, how much water is being heated, how much water is reclaimed, we must have sub-meters at each water plant. Reclaimed water. Today, it has become a norm. It is in most projects, it is mandatory to have reclaimed water. And this reclaimed water can be used for flushing and landscaping. Maintaining the quality of reclaimed water is a big issue, particularly when builder hands over the building to you and walks away. So that has to be ensured. Storage, it should not have storage of longer time or longer quantity. Reclaimed water, once treated, should be utilized for the purpose it is treated. There is always a fear of cross connection, and so you must color the pipe in proper color coding so that there is no cross connection. Reclaimed water should not go for domestic purposes. It should go only for flushing and landscaping. Also, there can be backflow of the reclaimed water into the domestic line. So you have to have backflow prevention devices. No hose beeps, no sprinklers, and no water bodies. Reclaimed water shall not be used for sprinklers in the lawn, because all the aerosols that come in the air with reclaimed water, you may inhale that aerosol and become sick. Like you may inhale COVID from the next patient and become sick. It is the same thing, same aerosols are coming, air with water, or water with air, or water in the air, which is already contaminated with viruses. So there should be danger signs everywhere. You should not have hose beeps for the sprinkler water system, reclaimed water system, because children playing in the sun, they might open the tap and drink it and fall sick. So hose beeps are not allowed. You are allowed to do only the root irrigation system. You should also have danger signs everywhere and follow the color coding. The color coding is like this. This is international color coding. Green band and white lettering is for potable water. Yellow band with black lettering is for non-potable water. And purple band with black water is reclaimed water. Okay, so I think my given time is coming to the end. So planning and coordination is a must for all projects, whether it is residential or commercial, and we must have proper coordination between architects and consultants. Planning and coordination is a must. No planning, no execution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Subhash Deshpande. It was fantastic, and it was a very informative, and you have elaborated in very beautiful ways. I think we have lots of participants and who is having technical questions. So I would request the panelists consists of Depend by Vinesh Bhai, Apurva is there, and Dr. Subhash Deshpande is also here. So let's the forum is open for the Q&A session.
Everyone can post their questions in the chat box, and the relevant questions will be taken up one by one. Dipen bhai, Apurva bhai, you can just take over and moderate the questions.
Yeah, there is one question that what care must be taken into considerations while ceiling hung plumbing system?
What care? Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, what care must be taken into considerations while ceiling hung plumbing system?
Oh, ceiling hung plumbing system. Okay. Basically, it must have proper hangers designed properly. People use very thin rods for hanging the pipes and fittings. Depending on the type of the fittings, as I said, the hubless pipes, hubless fitting would need hanger on both sides of the fitting. And thirdly, very important, is the clean out on each branch. If there is any blockage, you should be able to open the clean out, do the rodding and remove the blockage. So if you have proper clean outs installed on ceiling and plumbing, there won't be any problem during maintenance. Lastly, we did talk about it, the noise in the pipe. Sometimes you have to do additional noise insulation for the pipes, particularly if it is running over the conference hall, for example. But these 3-4 things, if you take into consideration, the ceiling and plumbing is highly recommended over the sunken toilet floor.
Apurva, unmute yourself.
Yeah. Subhash, sir, next question is, what is your opinion on use of flush valve, Metropole or any sort of auto flush valve or flush valve versus flush tank? And so many people are considering initial cost of flush tank is little higher, and what is to be considered and what is to be planned?
Okay. Firstly, I'm not very sure whether the flush tank is more expensive than the flush valve. I'm not very sure about that.
Yeah,
But anyway, talking about the advantages and disadvantages.
No, I'll tell. Deshpande sir, the cost of flush valve vis-a-vis conceal tank, the flush valve is cheaper as vis-a-vis the cost of the tank.
Okay.
But when you consider the complete system cost, like the cost of the pipe involved, the valves involved and all, then obviously the cost of the conceal tank is lesser as compared to the valve.
Yes. Thank you, Minesh. Thanks. So let us forget the cost part of it and let us look at the advantages and disadvantages. Firstly, if you have a flush valve, you don't need a space which is required for accommodating flush tank. Okay. But the flush valve normally consumes more water than the flush tank, and the flush tank will have 3 and 6 liter dual flush tank, so that will be water conserving than the flush valve. However, where we need flush valve is where we are using reclaimed water for flushing. Reclaimed water, when stored in the flush tank over a long time, develops thousands of or millions of bacteria into it, and that water, when you use it for flushing, it is actually brown in color. That much of is the contamination. And so in case you are using reclaimed water for flushing, you should use flush valves, not the flush tank. Our flush tanks are not airtight. It has an overflow on the side, and so the bacteria staying in your flush tank, that flush tank becomes their apartment, and they have nice oxygen supply from the overflow system. So we must avoid flush tanks for reclaimed water flushing system.
No, but in case of concealed tank?
Even in case of concealed tank, when you are flushing it, the flushed water remains in the WC for a long time. and the water seal that you see at the bottom of the WC, there the bacterial growth starts again. So in any case, reclaimed water has to be handled very carefully, and we must avoid using flush tanks.
Avoid using flush tank for reclaimed water.
For reclaimed water. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you prefer, if we are supplying bore water or a normal municipal water, the flush tank shall be used. And if we are using reclaimed water, then flush valve should be preferred.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah.
Now we have another question. What is the difference between single stack system and one pipe system?
Okay. The first big difference is that single stack system does not require venting. One pipe system needs fully venting system. The one pipe system needs vent pipes, vent branches, etc. Single stack system does not need venting. The single stack system has uniform diameter throughout the stack, right from top to bottom. It has the same diameter. It has to be designed very, very carefully. You have to have proper fittings. You must not use T or elbow. You have to use 45-degree bend and Y or a sanitary T for single stack system. The branches of the single stack system must have one pipe drop from the plumbing fixture. You should not take the branch right from the fixture, because that causes negative pressure or siphon in the system. So the single stack system has to be designed a little carefully, and proper fittings are to be used, not normal T or elbow.
Okay. Sir, one more question is, can we have underground tank below and pump room on the top of it? Means the suction is negative, and what are the depth restriction to be followed in that case? Which is a better system, underground tank and pump room at the same level, or pump room above and underground tank, and why?
Okay. I think I did elaborate a little bit on this. Our pump room should always be slightly, let's say about 1 meter below the water tank, 1 meter below the bottom of the water tank, so that we have positive suction, particularly for pumps and particularly fire pumps. But if you have a pump room above the water tank, I assume it is for a small project where there are no fire pumps involved.
Yeah.
So you have only pumps for pumping water from groundwater tank to overhead tank. In that case, there is a negative suction. You have to have facility for priming those pumps. That priming will be required for running the pumps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, can you elaborate on the depth? What are the depth restriction to be followed for the negative section?
For a small project, the depth of the water tank won't be more than 3 meters.
Yes.
So 3 meters negative suction plus the static head, that is the total delivery head for the pump, and you have to design the pump accordingly.
Here I'll add on to this question.
Yes.
In this negative suction case, you need to identify the pump net positive suction head, and depending upon
NPSH.
NPSH, and depending upon the NPSH, you need to have the depth of the tank, and accordingly it should be designed. If your pump NPSH is not able to have a 3 meter depth tank, then you should restrict your tank to 7.5 meter, because normally the small pumps, if you are talking of small projects, the pumps are, the smaller flow rate pumps are available with a lesser NPSH values, and in that case, the depth should be restricted to 1.5 to 2 meters. But for the large flow rate pumps with a higher NPSH, you can go up to 3 meters.
Okay.
We can
Any
have
other
next
question?
question. We can have next question. Any other questions?
Deepen bhai.
Hello. Next question is how the challenges of moisture in plumbing lines is addressed with dry wall system. Question is asked by Mr. Sandeep Mani.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
How the challenges of moisture in plumbing lines is addressed with dry wall system.
Moisture in plumbing line.
Sir, I don't think that it is maybe he may be talking about leakages. Moisture will be
This is a question. He wants a clarification on what happens to the moisture in case of a dry wall system. If there is a moisture in the plumbing lines.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let us say there is leakage in the plumbing line, rather than moisture. So what we do is basically you have a grid of MS studs or wooden studs, which is 200 mm away from the wall. Within the 200 mm, all your drainage and water supply lines are fixed, and all your carrier fittings are installed. Now, if there is a leakage, you have to unscrew the gypsum board from the frame, remove it, and attend to the leakage and fix it again. So the maintenance is done from within the same toilet. You are not entering somebody else's toilet, or you don't have to enter a plumbing shaft. And that is the biggest advantage of having dry wall system.
Okay, there is one more question, sir, and that is regarding explain the feasibility of using vacuum sewerage system in India.
Okay. Fortunately, I have attended a training session on vacuum sewerage in Germany, so I can address this. The feasibility is actually not for India or abroad. It is suitable where there is a very shallow groundwater table, and then there is a difficulty in laying drainage lines. Secondly, the vacuum sewerage system also allows you to have drainage line running very shallow at the parallel to the ground. Whether the ground is going up or down, that can be managed. It does not need a huge 1 in 100 slope. Also, because the media of the transport is air, not water, you need less water for conveyance of the soil. The velocity of the travel is also very high, and that's why you can reduce the diameter of the pipe also. So the diameter of the pipe is restricted to, let's say, 65 millimeters. The slope is very, very little. There is a tooling, profile of the pipe. So less excavation, particularly when you are having some difficult crossings along the line. This can be used. Vacuum sewerage system can be used.
Okay.
So now we have another question. What should be the recommended depth of ledge wall for 100 mm outlet WC?
Thickness.
Thickness of the ledge wall?
Yes.
Yeah, it can be 100 mm only. The flush tank thickness is only 80 mm. So you have 100 mm thick ledge wall, and including plaster, it becomes 120 plus tile, another 6 mm. So 120 is the total thickness of the ledge wall, and 80 mm is the thickness of the flush tank. So this can be easily accommodated. Half brick.
Okay. Next, we have, sir, one question. Why some people hesitate in using ring fit jointing pipe system in sunken toilets and more comfortable with solvent fit joint?
In sunken toilet, what type of joints?
Sir. He is comparing ring fit joint versus solvent fit joint, that people are more hesitant to use fit joints. And
Okay.
solvent joints. That's.
Shailesh bhai, Shailesh bhai, you want to take this question? That's more appropriate for you.
Yes, Shailesh bhai can answer better.
Yeah, the ring fit can be used. There is no problem. But we always recommend to go with the ring fit also. It's not that only solvent fit can be used.
Actually, it depends on the manufacturer and the type of ring that he is using. The SWR pipe with a ring is not suitable for horizontal laying, and that's why people have to go for solvent cement joint. But pipes like the Houliet pipes or other polypropylene HDP pipes, etc., they can be used in horizontal laying also.
Yep.
Sir, one question is,
Yeah.
post-COVID, do we not need now coordination with nature? And what are the recommendation you propose for the future generation or for the future projects?
Oh God. Okay. I don't know any architect whose name is nature.
But the nature is the supreme designer. Rather, we all are learning from nature only.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, COVID has taught us few lessons, and one of that is how to keep the hygiene in the toilet. That is very important. So if you have, let's say, a tap which is in public toilet, a lot of people will handling the same tap, and COVID-19 may be transferred through that. So you must have touchless taps or sensor taps in the public toilets. Similarly, you can have touchless or sensor flush for urinals and WC. You don't have to touch the flushing device. And actually, one of the most dangerous thing is the WC seat on which we sit. Because the WC seat is never cleaned. We clean the WC, we clean everything else. WC seat is not cleaned. And everybody is using the same seat without cleaning it. However, COVID may not have any role to play on the seat, I hope.
No, the question is, like what you said in your presentation, air and water is free. And
Yes.
I think so the natural resources we need to take care. That is the biggest learning we learn from COVID. So what are your take on or a guideline or a guidance as far as coordination of natural resources as water supply as a source as well as the protection in the drainage? So the air or aerosoling is prevented. That is the question.
I don't know whether that can be addressed so quickly over here.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, we have another question that lintel level and beam bottom is same, and water supply pipelines are being taken from the false ceiling inside the toilet. How we can take the drop pipe from the false ceiling? Because that beam will come, we cannot conceal the water supply lines. So do we have any solution for that?
No, you may have to do the core cutting in the beam while protecting the top and bottom reinforcement. And then you can cross the pipe, cross the beam and take the pipe to other room. That can be done, and with the approval from the structural consultant, this can be done.
I think, sir, it is also very easier to convince architect to bring down the false ceiling level by 1 or 2 inches to take water supply lines.
One question is on hot water circulation pipe, sir. Can you highlight, throw some light on it?
Hot water circulation pipes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, any pipe material which is taking hot water.
Circulation pump and the requirement of hot water circulation pump. Recirculation pump, sorry.
Oh, recirculation. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. The recirculation, the recirculation circuit or the
Yeah.
return line is already bringing the hot water up to your terrace level if you have a solar system.
Yeah.
And so the recirculation pump is only pumping hot water available at the terrace level to the hot water tank. So that recirculation pump is very small in capacity, maybe half HP or less than that. And the recirculation is done maybe for 10 minutes at the most, depending on, of course, the project size. And it pumps the so-called cold water in the system into the hot water tank, and the pipe is refilled with freshly heated water.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to tell was that regardless of the pipe material, whether it is plastic or metal or composite pipe, all pipes, underline all pipes, need insulation. There are some advertisement I see that hot and cold water pipe, they say no insulation is required. That is not true at all.
Okay.
Okay. Vinod, how many questions we can take more?
We can take 2 more questions. Vinod,
Two
I
more
think
questions.
as internet issues, so he dropped. We can take 2 more questions.
Okay.
Okay. Now, sir, there is one question. What is limitation of single stack system for multi-story building? I think he want to ask that up to how many story building we can use single stack system.
I have not handled any building more than 100 feet. So 33 floors we have done, but I don't believe that there is any limitation. The single stack system can be used for any number of floors.
We have done one project for 35 floors in Bangalore.
Okay.
That is working. There are some other projects wherein single stack system is used up to 200 meters, or they are being designed right now, either in Mumbai, Pune, or Bangalore.
Okay, yeah.
By some other consultants also. So systems can be designed, but it has to be designed keeping in view the proper flow rates and the design considerations as recommended by the system integrators, system manufacturers, I would say.
Yes.
No, Uniform Illustrated Plumbing Code has a clear-cut guideline on the number of drainage fixture unit can be connected on the sizing of the pipe with single stack system. So if we follow that design criteria, we get the answer what should be the diameter of pipe, and with 1 pipe or a 2 pipe, you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have one last question.
Yeah.
Is air admittance valve advisable in venting of drainage piping system inside the toilet above false ceiling?
Okay. I had to request to all participants that your question should be on the presentation made, not to test my knowledge. But anyway, the air admittance valves are being used in India and some other countries. They are not used in US, for example. But we have to remember that air admittance valves do not replace venting requirement. You have to have proper venting in any case. Air admittance valves are only for localized solutions.
Correct.
Okay.
So now we can end the question answer sessions. Subhash, you were wonderful, and everyone had enjoyed great. There was consistent 240 plus attendance throughout the webinar, throughout the technical session.
Fantastic.
And so we should give a clap to that.
Yeah.
And even with the question answer session, we had almost 200 plus attendance throughout. So it was a wonderful session.
Very nice. Thank you.
I would like to thank Shailesh Bhai and Mickey from Huliot for their Ahmedabad chapter in sponsoring this event. Now I'll hand over to Ketan Parikh for the vote of thanks.
Only small note, sir, if you can go through question answer chat box and send an email to our chapter, we can even send the email to the participants whose question answer are not taken up, but they are addressed.
I am writing the email ID of in the chat box. Everyone can refer that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, end of wonderful session. Good evening, everybody. We IPA Ahmedabad Chapter Executive Committee thank you very much to all for attending webinar on plumbing coordination by architects, sponsored by Holiot India Advanced Flow System. We thank you very much to our today's speaker, Mr. Subhash Deshpande, for inspiring presentation. I always personally feel pleasure to listen him on plumbing subject. Lastly, we thank you our today's session sponsor Holiot India for their support. And we see you all in next session on 20th June. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay at home.
We will be second session will be taken by Subhash sir on 20th June, and the
20th
topic would be fittings and fixtures. The details and other things will follow shortly. Thanks to all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Minesh bhai, one request is to share the link for the recording. So we can post it in our group. So people can do that.
We will do that.
Yeah, thank you. So we close the session now.
We can close. Close the session. Thanks to all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Subhash sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.